Matt Miller wrote an article last year that attacked the fandom, and I didn't really cover it because everyone was covering it back then. But I wanted just to take a little time and think about the piece, and now I'm gonna go through it. I know Geeks and Gamers, John Talks, Ethan Van Sciver, and others went through the article. Odin from Odin Movie blog, and that Star Wars School, I also think it covered it for those who are into Star Wars. But they're using identity politics to attack fans too, because they're people like me and others who were not satisfied with the Last Jedi because it was identity politics garbage and basically crapping on man the entire time. And so go into the article. The year Star Wars fans finally, not literally, finally ruined Star Wars. In 2018, a loud movement of racist, misogynist trolls derailed the beloved family sci-fi franchise. So already poisoning the well. Just because I didn't like the movie doesn't mean I was racist, misogynist, homophobic, whatever. Some of my earliest memories about movies are of Star Wars, taking out wrapping paper tubes and playing lightsabers with my dad. Dressing up as Luke Skywalker, desperately wanting the Millennium Falcon Lego set, watching the original VHS box trilogy, and having to fast forward through Leonard Maltin's boring interview with George Lucas every goddamn time. That's what Star Wars had always been to me, a movie that shaped my childhood, along with my understanding of good and evil. Luke and Leia, and Obi-Wan and Yoda. That's really bad sentence structure. Luke and Leia, and Obi-Wan and Yoda. That's just a bad sentence structure. All of these characters aided in honing my own moral compass throughout my formative years. Yeah, your moral compass is not good when you're calling everyone a racist and sexist troll, is it? No, Matt Miller. But you're gonna continue to Shill, of course. Of course, I grew up, but I never forgot these characters or their values. In fact, I'm only somewhat ashamed to admit that I cried in the theater when I, then a grown-ass adult, watched Han Solo die. Yeah, that death was terrible and was telegraphed, and it was really bad. It was like losing a member of my own family. Okay. Even then, tearing up during The Force Awakens, I had no idea that just 3 years later, even the mention of Star Wars would fill me with dread. Oh, here we go. These days, Star Wars coverage is a large part of my job. As a cultural critic, writer, and editor, hardly a week goes by where I don't touch something Star Wars related. Since Disney rebooted the franchise, it's produced some of the highest grossing movies of the last 4 years, not to mention limitless news, takes, and theories about each film. But within the past year, the conversation about Star Wars has gotten deeply unpleasant. In 2018, I've gotten literal death threat. Like, dude, everyone gets death threats on the internet, and so you're nothing special to say. Oh, you've gotten death threats. Being called homophobic slurs. Yeah, you're calling us sexist and racist, huh? Even called racist towards Star Wars fans about a family movie that defined my childhood. You're kind of proving my and other people's point when you're being called racist, huh? But you're fine when it's everyone else. Rules for thee, but not for me. And this isn't a problem limited to my experience. Oh no, my online harassment has paled in comparison to others, specifically the female stars of the two new films. And that's because over the past year, the conversation surrounding Star Wars has devolved into something ugly and unrecognizable. Yeah, according to you. Citation needed. Whereas the vocal majority of Star Wars fans want simply passionate people who cosplay and debate the logistics of the castle run. Yeah, the prequels happened, mate. People argued about those as well, but it was more about the qualities of the movie. The directing wasn't as good. George Lucas, who had responsibility, and the acting was a little bit choppy, but they still love Star Wars. Now it's people who come from the outside in and want to insert themselves into a fandom and claim that, oh, we've always been fans and you're just sexist and racist for doing so if you don't like these movies. That's what you're actually doing right now. They've now been overpowered on the internet at least. Star Wars and a large section of Star Wars fans have tragically become synonymous with hate, bigotry, and pervasive assholeness in 2018. Dude, that's your. Again, according to whom? The only one who's claiming this is you. From very sinister online campaigns, yeah, citation needed. To racist, misogynist attacks on actors, citation needed. To bafflingly stupid takes on interpretations of the film. The Last Jedi inspired the worst impulses of far-right movement that's taking a hold of the internet and extending its influence into the real world. Again, citation needed. Yeah, people like you got triggered when people edited the movie and removed all the females. And you got triggered by that. Like, seriously, it was just probably one troll who knew people were gonna get outraged. The hit began almost immediately after The Last Jedi hit theaters to positive reviews from critics. Yeah, you see, people hate on movies that most people like. People or critics hated Venom. I liked the movie. I thought it was really good. It's not great. It has some issues, but thought it was really entertaining. Great movie. You see the dissonance between critics and fans. The Last Jedi. You see the just look at Rotten Tomatoes. Even Rotten Tomatoes came out and debunked that it was just bots downvoting it. You have Ghostbusters, where critics upvoted it all the way, and yet fans did not like the new Ghostbusters movie. And you have Black Panther. It has a high rating, I believe. Last time I checked, was higher rating than The Godfather and other movies. So it almost has a perfect score on Rotten Tomatoes. That is just insane. It is a good 7 out of 10 movie. It's not an Oscar-worthy, prize-winning movie that should win over an Infinity War in any universe. So yeah, the hit began. Got next sentence. Rotten Tomatoes was one with negative reviews, marking the biggest disparity between fans and critics in the history of the franchise. Yeah, because it's people hated it. Why can't you just accept that? Why do you have to settle for bad movies and just point the finger at everyone else? Oh, because you didn't like it, you're a sexist and a racist. As of this week, the film has a 91% from critics and 45% from fans. While many of the fans have legitimate concerns with the actual filmmaking, many of these audience reviews are coming from different places. Like this comparatively tame one I pulled at random from the first page of Rotten Tomatoes. So your only example is one review. Okay, let's read it. I'm still lamenting over how terrible this movie was. I have to pretend I never saw it just to get through the day. We're not buying your political agenda. I didn't see Solo as a way of giving the finger to Rian Johnson and Kathleen Kennedy, and many others did the same. What is wrong with that? What's wrong with that review? I see a perfectly legitimate reason of someone giving the reason not to see Solo, and they didn't like The Last Jedi. Makes perfect sense. This became a narrative surrounding Star Wars and the rejection of The Last Jedi throughout 2018. Emboldened members of the far right used Star Wars as another easy target for online hatred. Again, citation needed. You can't just make a statement like that and not expect blowback. Seriously, dude, you're such a shill. You're excusing Disney at every turn. Journalists are supposed to be with the fans, understand what the people are saying, yet you are going against the fans and bashing them. You're such a shill, and you're a sorry excuse for a journalist. What's confusing is how badly these alleged Star Wars fans misunderstand Star Wars from the very beginning. It was a progressive franchise even considering some of the embarrassing Hollywood norms of the 70s. George Lucas gave Princess Leia a blaster and had her take charge of her own rescue. While many women on screen at the time remained the damsel in distress, the rebels fought against totalitarian empire that not so subtly resembled Nazi Germany. It's a film that made women like Maud Martha revolutionary leaders. This film was, at least for genre films of its time, wildly progressive in terms of representations and ideas. Yet somehow, in 2018, simply including women and actors of color in Star Wars universe is a pushing political agenda. Oh my God, that's such a straw man of what people. Okay, Rose is a token character. Why was she in the movie? Can you explain also what Holdo was doing in the movie? What was her role in it except for berate a man for being a man? And the movie was just garbage. It didn't make any sense. So I can put just straight out of my head or top of my head, I can pull those two out of the top of my head and say those are token representation